Subscription secrets and membership magic. How can they help you make money from magazines?
Today I'm here with Mark Alker, who is the publisher, CEO, MD of Single Track magazine, Single Track World. Hi, Mark. How you doing?
How you doing?
Good. Nice to have you with us today. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we're talking about subscriptions and membership because you used to have a subscription and now it's a membership. Is that right, Mark?
Yes, that's technically correct. Yes.
No more yes or no answers. Noted. Can you tell us why you did that? Why did you make the shift from subscriptions to membership?
Well, there's a number of reasons. One, I think there's a sort of an association with the word subscription, which signifies payment, whereas membership signifies something that you belong to. So, and we've been going for nearly a quarter of a century. And when we look back at it, we realised that we were never really just a subscription. We were always a community. We're always like a membership model. So we decided that we'd actually start calling it a membership, which is what it is, but also for that reason of trying to get away from the idea of subscriptions being something that is paid.
But let's just talk about, before we get on to the membership and how you made that shift, let's just talk a little bit about what your magazine used to look like when you had just subscriptions and you were on the newsstand as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we started off as a traditional model, as magazines were back then, 20 odd years ago, which was that we went quickly into the newsstand. We sold lots of copies on the newsstand, and we had a small subscription base. And our model was that kind of traditional magazine model whereby subscriptions weren't really the revenue generator. They were more of an audience curating exercise. And most of our revenue came from the newsstand.
Okay, that's interesting. And what kind of quantities were you shifting back then? Do you remember?
Well, interestingly, issue one, since we were so clueless at the time as to what we needed to do, we actually printed 10,000 copies. We had 400.
The joys.
We had 400 subscribers. And actually on issue one, we didn't have actual distribution beyond some bike shops. But we just thought that 10,000 sounded like a good number. So that's what we printed. We quickly learnt as we went along. Our learning curve was very steep in the early days. But we kind of peaked around about sort of 2007, and we were actually printing nearly 40,000 copies, and about 37,000 were going into the newsstand, and we were selling through maybe 45%. So we had some good numbers back then.
And what did you do for subscribers at that stage then? So you were on the newsstand, you're selling, nearly 40,000 copies is pretty amazing at its height. And what did you do for your subscribers? Because, I know lots of people try to make them feel a bit more special.
Yeah, well, first of all, on the very first day, issue we put out there, we said to our online community that we already had at that point, and we said, look, we're going to put out a magazine so you can subscribe. We're going to do 4 a year. We're going to set the price at £12 a pop. But if you stump up 12 quid now, we'll give you the 5th issue for free. So that was our very first initial subscriber offering, which was that 5th issue free. And we got about 400 people throwing money into the pot at that point. So that got us going. But what we did later, when we realised we had a learning curve in terms of how to promote things on the newsstand. And we went through that very traditional magazine learning curve whereby you realise how important the cover actually is on the newsstand.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And quickly we recognised that the quality of our images that we were putting on the cover, because we've always been very image orientated, was being sort of lost because of the cover lines. And our subscribers were saying to us, that image is brilliant, but I wish I could see it without all the stuff on it. That's where we realised that all those cover lines and all that stuff about newsstand rules around covers is wasted on subscribers because they're already bought in. There's nothing that needs to be marketed to them. So what we did was we talked to our printer and we said we want to do a different cover for the subscribers. So we split the covers. We had the usual traditional cover for the newsstand with all the cover lines and all the rest of it on it. And then for the subscribers, we just cleared it off. We had the masthead and the image, and that was it. And that was actually a really powerful draw for our subscribers.
Interesting, huh? Just something quite simple like that. What was the catalyst for that shift to a more subscription-focused organisation? What was the catalyst to coming off the newsstand then?
Well, the catalyst of coming off the newsstand was simply economics. We would have come off sooner, but we were say, concerned about some of the traditional reasons why you should be on the newsstand, and we didn't want to lose those being sort of the advertiser appeal. If you come off the newsstand, then your distribution comes right down, and then how are you going to sell the ads within the magazine to advertisers if your distribution's dropped? So that actually kept us on the newsstand for maybe a bit longer than we needed to. Essentially, we saw it was making a loss. It wasn't economically, the simple numbers didn't work. And eventually when we did decide, right, come on, let's stop paying for this newsstand, let's come out. And we came out with reticence and fear about what it was going to do to the advertising, and it did absolutely nothing. There was not a blip or advertisers. All the fears of, if we come off the newsstand, at that point we had subscriber levels of around about 4,000. We were putting into the newsstand at that point, so this is about 2017, 2018, and we had newsstand distribution of around about sort of maybe 15,000 at that point. And so we were really, really concerned. But instantly, it wasn't just the fact that it was a loss, we were making a loss on the copies going to the newsstand, but our print bill came right down, and we could actually use that money that we saved to invest in the print quality. So we put the paper quality up, and we made essentially a product that was designed exclusively for our subscribers.
Lovely. And I guess as well, if you know exactly how many you're sending out, you don't get any wastage as well. I mean, just for anybody who hasn't been on the newsstand before, it's probably worth just giving a little synopsis there that most shops will actually charge you to be on the newsstand. They'll also take a cut of your cover price. And if you don't sell the magazines, then they'll pulp them and they don't return them to you.
Making Money from Magazines is made and sponsored by Crowdfinder Video, who make cost-effective video and podcasts for magazines. The graphics for the show were made by White Light Media.
So then once you'd changed it from a newsstand model to a subscription model, was that the point that you changed to a membership, or were you still focusing on subscriptions?
It wasn't an instant thing. It didn't happen. A lot of our decisions over the years, because we're a small independent company, have been kind of have evolved. It reached a point where we realized that we'd always been a membership system. There was many reasons why our members sort of bought the magazine that went beyond just reading some stories, some excellent stories, I have to say, in a magazine 6 times a year. There was more to it. When we realized that, these are members. They are part of something, and we are providing something more than just a delivery mechanism for magazines. So we decided, right, well, let's call it what it is. It's a membership.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of magazines have that as an element of them, right? They build this community around their subject matter, especially in with more niche titles, which are very focused on one subject matter. So yeah, absolutely makes sense, doesn't it? So tell us a little bit then about what you have as member benefits now. What are you offering in addition to the magazine, or are you offering the magazine to everybody? How does that work?
Everybody gets the magazine content. The magazine is the core to the membership product. So the only real choice that members have is they can get the magazine in print, delivered 6 times a year, or they can get the magazine digitally. On top of that, we enhance the membership with other services and other functions. And it's really important that the magazine is core to the membership, because technically, and this is a real technical thing that we need to be aware of in this business, is technically a subscription is 0 rated for VAT. A membership system is VATable. So it very much, the product is a subscription, and that's defined by the fact that we create an actual publication that we send out to all of our members. So you cannot be a member, a single track member, without actually receiving the magazine content, either in print or online. And that's pretty crucial. So I mean, you could argue that the membership subscription, it's kind of semantic, but it's not. It has to be built around that publication, and that's always been the case for us.
Yeah, it's really smart.
There are other things that we offer in addition to the subscription, and those are the actual what we call the member benefits. And those member benefits, we're always adding to them. We're always trialing things with some things that are in there that are not in there now. So we have a paywall for content that we put on the website. Not all the content is paywalled. News is not paywalled because you can't really paywall news because our members can always go somewhere else to find it. But all the content that's written that's uniquely us is paywalled. And so that's only our full members who can actually get through the paywall. But also our full members don't see the majority of ads. They don't see ads on the website. So they get an ad-free experience to a large extent. There are other things that we do, which we can talk about if you like. We have a discount system through a third party that we partner with called Easy Discounts. And that plugs into our website. So our full members get access to the thousands of discounts. They can even get about 5% off at Aldi. You know, you can. That's the kind of things. Right? The Easy Discounts is a system that's it's brilliant. Yeah, it's based around an outdoor sort of audience. So there's big brands, a lot of bike industry brands are in there, so they can offer. You know, you can get 20% off Exposure Lights, which is a big cycling lighting brand. And there's a whole range of them. But it also offers a lot of things. You can get discounts at John Lewis. You can get discounts off Apple products. You know, there's literally thousands of discounts in there. And so our principal sort of goal was to try and make membership almost a no-brainer. That, you know, you are part of something that goes beyond just the content that we create, but becomes something that's actually useful. And I think that's the thing that defines the difference between subscription and membership. Subscription is a product, and it has to, for it to be successful, the purchaser, the customer of that product needs to feel that there is value, that the value that what they're handing over in cash is worth what they get back. Whereas a membership can actually go beyond that and provide a service. And the service can be anything from simple financial benefit of discounts to actually being part of that community and getting that sort of collective feeling of belonging to something. And that is kind of intangible when it comes to a membership, and that the value on that is very hard to actually pin down.
All these things that are kind of perceived as really useful and really important rather than it just being a sense of belonging. Although I think the sense of belonging is far greater than all the others combined. I think that's quite an unusual attitude to have for a consumer publisher, because like for a B2B publisher, that's really obvious, right? That you want to be essential to the person that's actually subscribing or part of your membership. But for a consumer publisher, I think that's quite rare and interesting to see like just the little things that you've done which actually could make a real difference to somebody. Whether that's a 5% discount at some Aldi or not, you know, I think it's, you know, but all the things might up, right?
Well, they do, yeah. And we've always provided a service with things like reviews. You know, a review is technically a service. I mean, but we've also recognized that reviews are also, as far as brands are concerned, they're ads. So that's where, as a consumer title, we kind of sit in the middle of these competing forces that we need the audience as much as we need the industry that we're sat in, because, you know, we still require product to come in for us to be able to create the content and create reviews. So we need to have that relationship with the industry that we're in. But yeah, I mean, reviews are definitely, from the user point of view, they are a service. Now, in terms of, we did experiment with putting the reviews behind our paywall so that it was members only.
Okay.
And at the moment, that's not the case. They're free to all. I mean, I still stand by the rationale as why we did that, which is that the content that you can put behind a paywall has to be unique. It has to be useful for people to actually decide that they're going to hand over money to cross that paywall. And our reviews are written by our experts, and it's very, very valuable, and it's really useful information. So we decided this should be behind the paywall. And I still stand by that. I still think reviews should be considered as important as that. However, we do have to maintain a relationship with the industry that we serve, for want of a better word. And putting content behind a paywall restricts who can see it, and that affects your relationship with the industry. And so reviews and news are not paywalled. And that's, you know, those two competing forces, we had to balance that out.
And good for SEO as well, I guess, although I don't imagine that's too much of a problem for you.
SEO is very important to us. It happens to not be too much of a problem for us because we've had a web presence with very good SEO, technical SEO, for 20 years now. So we've got that kind of nailed. It takes constant curation to make sure. But yes, SEO, product searches, these are the factors that mean that it's not possible or it's not ideal to paywall your product reviews, even though that is some of the most valuable and most expensive content to create. It's just one of those competing things. We're not in an ideal situation at the moment. I guess the ideal that we would like to get to is to be pretty much 100% reader funded. That would be, that's our goal. It's probably not fully attainable, but that's, in the 20 years that we've been going, our revenue shift has been progressively moving towards reader funded. I mean, we're now about 50% reader funded, 50% advertising, which, 20 years ago when we started, that was more like 90% advertising, 10% reader funded. So that's the shift that's happened, and how far that continues, how far that trend goes, that's the unknown. And but we're striving for that, because the thing is with reader revenue is I can predict what we're going to earn from reader revenue in a year's time fairly accurately. I couldn't tell you what we're going to earn from programmatic advertising this time tomorrow. So from a business point of view, a shift towards more reader supported revenue streams is a lot more reassuring. It's a lot safer. It's a lot more predictable.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate and subscribe here on YouTube.
So what are the kind of difficulties around the reliability of recurring reader revenue? I don't know about you, but I mean, I experienced churn as part of the membership at the International Magazine Centre, and I find that very frustrating and do as much as I can to stop it, but inevitably it's very difficult to service every single one of your members at the same time to an equal level that they would all be happy with. So because everybody's individual, right? They all want and need different things. But what do you do to try to mitigate that churn?
Well, yeah, I mean, churn is just a fact of life, isn't it, for us? I mean, our churn's pretty low, but it still churns. There's still people that will leave, and it's always disappointing when that happens. So, I mean, but you're right to think about retention as probably the most important factor, or it is the most important factor. Retention is often quoted. There's actually numbers attributed to it. Say like a retained subscriber is worth 5 times more than a newly acquired subscriber. The reason for that is if you can retain them at the end of year 1, traditionally they will stay in for another 2 or 3 subscription cycles at the very least. Whereas someone who comes in at the start, so that means that their lifetime value is really high. So retention is something that's really, really keen, and that's that there isn't a single strategy that we have that say this is our retention strategy, because it's kind of intrinsic to the whole product. That whole idea of value, of adding more functions, adding more services, becoming a service rather than a product, is really, really, that's retention. That's what that is all about. It's also acquisition, but it's about keeping people on board. We have a very personal touch to cancellations. So when we have an automatic cancellation system, so we make it very clear, and unlike some other subscribers out there I could mention, make it really, really hard to cancel your subscription. So cancellation is a really important part of the service we offer. So for us, you can go into your account, you log into your account online, and you can hit a button to cancel. We do have some very clear messaging. So it's, we do have a pop-up saying, are you sure? If you press this button, you're going to miss out on all of this. What about pausing your subscription? Have you thought of this? So we go through all of that, but basically our subscribers can handle their own subscriptions and whether they cancel it or not. We also put options in front of them saying, have you considered, if they're a print subscriber, say, have you considered dropping down to digital only to save some money? That works quite well. For us, we very careful with our pricing. We make just as much money from our digital only as we do from our print. So from our point of view, it makes no difference whether a subscriber is print or whether they are just a pure digital. So we try and offer them options in that. And these things do work. We also get a lot of phone calls and emails that come through to our subscriptions saying, please, I'm sorry. And they usually come with some big apology and explanation. So it's like, I'm really, really sorry you guys have been a subscriber for this, but I've got to cut back and make some savings. And maybe I'll be back in the future is a very typical email we'll get. And our response to that is, yeah, we totally get that. We'll cancel your subscription. And if you want to come back in the future, then get in touch and we'll give you a 50% off code and you can just sign up in the future.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
We've also, when we've had some subscribers say that, look, I'm really, really sorry. I'd love to stay as a subscriber. I simply can't afford it. Things are really tough at the moment. And we've actually comped them a subscription. We've said, right, no problem, we'll support. And that's part of that community feel, isn't it? You've got to support these people when they're in trouble or if finances get too difficult. And so we try and make it as easy, and it's really important that your subscribers feel in control of their subscription. But we also try and make sure that we support them, so we don't just switch them off and say goodbye.
And they'll remember that, won't they, as well? They'll remember that in the future when, if you need help, then they'll come to your aid as well. Can you talk a little bit about how often you charge and why?
The thing about digital and print is it's kind of digital lends itself well to any kind of payment. You can have so many different payment options. Print is kind of different in the fact that it's kind of it's fixed in the calendar. So we've always combined the two. Like I said earlier, the subscription product, that magazine content is core, so everybody needs to get that. So we've done things in the past where our first attempts at doing digital back in 2008, you could buy a print subscription, you could buy a digital subscription, but they weren't combined. You had one or the other. Then we had some people saying, well, sometimes I want to get the print, but I want to look at it online. So we created one in the middle, print and digital. So we have 3 products, which we found didn't work. Bizarrely, this is the illusion of choice. If you give lots of options to your customers, they might see that as this is good, I've got lots of choice. But you have to realize that sometimes what readers actually say they want is not what actually they want, which can sound a little condescending, but it's kind of true. And that was caused confusion because we had people who were getting print and wondering why they couldn't get digital when somebody else was getting both. And then so we realized then that we needed to simplify. So we simplified. We just gave the digital subscription to everybody, but some people could have print as well. And that made things much clearer. It made things easier for our pricing. And that's worked solidly up until recently. Recently, with the state of the economy where people are cutting back, we've recognized the fact that some people, a £50 a year print and digital subscription is a large chunk of cash. And some people we find midway through their subscriptions are saying, I've got to cancel this, please. Can you cancel it? And of course we do cancel, but they've paid ahead, so they still continue to receive issues. They then saying, can you refund me for the unprovided issues? And that causes accounting problems, and it's a nightmare. So we decided that we would bring in a more flexible payment plan. So we actually have now bi-monthly subscriptions.
Okay.
Bi-monthly is kind of an odd one, but it has to be such because everybody gets digital, even the print. So if you're putting on bi-monthly, fits with our 6 issues a year. So because of that, we now have a minimum digital-only subscription of $7.99 every 2 months, but you can get the print subscription for $8.99 every 2 months. So what we're trying to do there is make people realize that, all right, maybe I don't want print now. I just want to get behind the paywall, but just for an extra £1 every 2 months, they can actually get the print magazine too. This subscription can be cancelled at any time. So from the user's point of view, they feel they're in control, so they can stop that payment whenever they need to, and it doesn't feel like there's a large chunk of cash coming at a surprise point in once a year coming out of their bank account. So that's a kind of a response to the current economic situation. But fundamentally, the choice is limited. The choice is just 2. You get print and digital, or you get digital. And that's been really key, is to not confuse the readers with multiple different options. So simplicity in your membership subscriber options is critical, I think, if you want to have a really sort of a clear product that people can see the benefits of very, very quickly.
That bi-monthly payment fits really nicely with your with your magazine, but are you afraid in any way that that becomes more transactional then, so they kind of feel like their membership is only paying for the magazine, or does that not really factor?
No, it isn't really a factor in that. I mean, some people will obviously do that because the thing is the cover price of the magazine is £10. They can buy that directly through our shop, and if they're not a member, then we'll add postage onto it. So they could be paying like £12 to get the magazine, but then we don't want them to do that. We'd rather that they were part of the community, and so offering a sort of a bi-monthly subscription at £8.99, that's fine. We've costed that out, and the critical thing and the difference between now and 20 years ago is that £8.99 is profitable to us. That works. We will make money on that, and so we're not just trying to get people into the subscriber list like we, for historical reasons of being able to brag about large subscriber numbers to our advertisers. We do make money from that. But the point of it is it's to give them control. It's to make them feel that they are in control, and then the costs are not going to run away, and they're not going to be faced with a large deduction from their bank account once a year.
So let's just talk a little bit more about the marketing of the subscriptions in your membership then. How do you, I mean, you've got quite good traffic to your website, haven't you? Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, we're one of the largest cycling websites in the world. We're only just mentioning this now. We should have maybe said this at the start. We get 750,000 people a month coming to our website. It's phenomenal, the traffic that we get, and we've historically had enormous traffic. So yeah, it's that's such an enormously powerful funnel for us, and it drives everything we do. So in terms of marketing the subscription, we're kind of in a very fortunate position that we don't have to go externally out into the wider advertising world to make people aware of what we do. Our SEO is excellent, so it brings in traffic through Google search. So we have this. It's kind of like a ready-made market that we have organically grown, and all we basically need to do is try and market our subscriptions to those monthly visitors and convert them. We do some external stuff. We have 550,000 followers on our Facebook page, so we will use Facebook as a promotional tool, essentially not just advertising membership but advertising content, because fundamentally it's the content that brings people in. If they're not coming for the content, and the content actually is more than just what we produce. The content is also the forum. The content that the readers create themselves is also part of the honeypot that brings in new people. So keeping all of that sort of regularly in front of people is kind of the biggest advantage we have in terms of marketing ourselves. But we do all sorts of other marketing as well within that. We will target users. We have a newsletter which goes out to over 10,000 of our opted-in members. You don't have to be a subscriber for that. You can be a free member. And that gets an open rate of around about 45 to 50% every week. Click-through rates of 5%.
That's really good, really impressive.
And that's because these people have opted in. They're part of the community, and they see it as a valuable part of what we offer. And our newsletters are not. This is. I think this is the key to the success of our newsletter, is that the newsletter is not simply a link farming exercise. It's not a list. It's not that New York Times email that you get every morning that just has a link to all the latest stories. It's an editorial tool. Hannah, our managing editor, writes amazing editorial every week in that, and it's entirely in the email. So we're not trying to get people to open an email, click, and come to our website. The content is delivered where they are right there and then, which is in email, and that's really, really powerful. And that works tremendously.
My email is the same. I get about 45% open rate. I don't have anywhere near the numbers that you do, but it's also one of my main sales tools, for, booking events and so on. But I always get the most traction, you're right, from when I'm sending through something that isn't, covered in links. So it's, I do a little kind of introduction that's always like a piece of editorial about something that I'm hoping will resonate with people about, publishing in general. But I often wonder if it could be working harder for me, I suppose. Do you feel that with a newsletter, or do you feel like that's very important to stick to that editorial focus? And I mean, how many links do you have? Do you have any, or what's it like?
Yeah, we have links at the bottom of our email that link to stories. That's automatically generated. But at the top, there's usually, Hannah's columns will vary from like 600 words to over 1,000. They're like full features.
Cool.
And you have to get through that before you get to the links. I mean, it's a balance, because the thing is that, yes, I could, as a publisher, I could look at those 10,000 emails and go, the click-through rate here is about 4% that we're getting from this. That's enormous. So let's just use this to push all of our products. But you do that and you'll get fatigue from the readers. They have to feel that it's value. And if you're just going to use these platforms as marketing tools rather than delivering something of value to the members, then they'll switch off. So the reason that we get 45% open rates and high click-throughs is simply because the newsletter is in of itself a piece of content that's worth engaging with. And the readers don't feel that we're using it all the time as a promotional tool. And so it's a balance, because you have to do both. But there is another fundamental sort of technical thing about newsletters and why they are so successful when you use them to deliver content, which is that people don't like changing platforms. This is, Facebook famously realized this a long time ago. They realized that publishers like us just using the Facebook platform to create link posts to get people to come out of Facebook and hit our websites wasn't working. The users hated it because they were on Facebook. They were in that gated community, and that's where they chose to be. And our publisher links, when they clicked on them, it took them out of Facebook and onto our website. It took them somewhere they didn't want to be. They hadn't chosen to be there, and it was annoying, and they'd bounce straight back. People want to stay within the environment that they choose to be in. They want to be, if they're on the mobile phone in an app, they want to stay in the app. They want to be in control of leaving. So that figures very much greatly in what we do and our attitude to communication, which is that, if they're in their email system, give them the entire article so that they don't feel like they've been tricked.
Yeah, that's a fascinating way of looking at things. And I think, I don't know if I've mentioned this before in the podcast, but I read an article years ago about why print and digital are different experiences for people. And one of the things that was pointed out was that every time you're faced with a hyperlink, your body has a little stress response to this, because it has to make a decision, a very small stress response. Obviously, it's nothing, nothing with any much impact. But if you have an article with, 20 different links in it, then every single time your brain has to make that decision of, am I going to click on this link, or am I going to stay in the article? And it's exactly the same, I would imagine, for, if you're on Facebook, and are you going to leave to go to whatever the link was, and then leaving what you were previously enjoying, which was probably scrolling through your family and friends and what they were up to, right?
Making Money from Magazines is made and sponsored by Crowdfinder Video, who make cost-effective video and podcasts for magazines. The graphics for the show were made by White Light Media.
So we've talked about acquisition, we've talked about renewal and retention. What do you do with lapsed subscribers? How do you do anything with lapsed subscribers? What do you get up to there?
Yeah, we do. I mean, a lot of our lapsed subscribers are still actively in the community, so they become, rather than a full member, they become a free member. So we find that most of our lapsed subscribers are still with us on the website. That gives us lots of opportunities to re-engage with them. We have some tools that put pop-ups in their screens, giving them latest offers. But one of the most powerful tools is through our newsletter. We find that the vast majority of all of our subscribers all sign up to the newsletter. So even when they cancel their subscription, they're no longer a full member, they're still part of that newsletter. So we use newsletters a lot because we can actually subdivide different segments of our newsletter by simply doing some filtering. Have they previously bought a subscription? Yes. Are they registered on the website? Are they active on the website in the last 6 months? Yes. Right. We'll create a cohort, a small audience, and then we'll target those with some special offers to see if we can tempt them back. We've got an offer running at the moment which gives them a discount, but it also gives them a free gift. And that campaign went out to about 3,500 of our lapsed subscribers, and has gained us quite a few re-engagements. So they got them back in. Quite often, when our subscribers leave us, they will leave because of some temporary financial reason, and so if they're still engaging with the website after that, it's a really good indicator that they are still likely to respond positively to any offers that we put out. So that's principally how we deal with the lapsed subscribers.
clearly this all takes a lot to actually run, right? Because I think I use Patreon at the moment, and that is woefully inadequate for what I want, and I hate directing people away from my website. So we're trying to change that. But setting up a membership on my website, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of kind of tweaking and thinking about how we want to do things better or differently. What kind of tech do you use? Have you got something bespoke, or do you use an off-the-shelf model, or what do you do?
We use a combination of both. Our platform is WordPress. Our hosting is with WordPress VIP, which just is simply a very expensive hosting, but necessary for the scale of our traffic. And within that, we use a lot of WordPress plugins. We use WooCommerce with some. It has a good subscription and membership plugin specifically to engage and get payments to come through from digital members, from website visitors. It's a great paywall system, ultimately. And our digital subscription is effectively just a paywall. Getting that to synchronize, that membership system to synchronize with our print database is another matter. And that's where we've had to do a little bit of bespoke coding ourselves. So it's mostly, I would say, that our tech is off the shelf. If you just want to do a very simple subscription model that's digital only, then it's very low cost, a few $100s a year for plugins on a WordPress site. If you want to actually engage that and combine it with print, it becomes a bit more tricky because there isn't actually a product out there that kind of understands that relationship between print and digital. And so we've had to use our own in-house tech to join those two together just to make it work seamlessly. But most of the tech exists. There's an excellent plugin called Ultimate Member, which we also use. And that has its own built-in payment system. And it's very, very simple to get that up and running. And again, you're talking maybe $100 a year to run that system. So yeah, the cost of entry is relatively low.
Mark, is there anything that you would like to say to our listeners before we go where, is there anything that you think that they should really specifically focus on when it comes to launching a subscription or then converting that to a membership?
The thing that content is king. If you're going to launch a subscription, the starting point is the content that you create. Without quality content, you've got nothing. You've got nothing for people to buy into. But some basic things, concentrate on retention. Once you've got people, keep them. That's how you will make a living in subscriptions and membership. And membership is the key to retention. So it's, start a community. That's it. Aim for a bunch of people that want to talk to you and want to talk to each other. And that's where your business will grow from. The other piece of advice I'd give is maybe cautionary, which is that if you build a community out of your subscribers and you build that membership, bear in mind that once you build a community, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the community. And that has to be respected at all times.
Absolutely. And that's the joy of it though, right?
It's the joy,
to me,
yeah.
That's the joy of it. Like I get most from it when I hear about somebody. I spoke to somebody the other day and they were like, oh yeah, I met up with so-and-so. I was like, really, did you? Oh wow, you never would have known them if it wasn't for me. They're completely different titles. So there's a real, that really fills me up. I really love that. Oh, Mark, it was just such a pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time.
You're more than welcome. It's been great to talk to you about this stuff.